Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Bromberg. I'm the Director of Academic Programs for the Carsey School of Public Policy. I'm joined today with Melinda Negron-Gonzales. Melinda is the Director of Global Conflict and Human Security Program. We're going to be presenting programs to you today that we believe are really public-facing, public service programs that are going to have some real community impact. And we felt like, giving you an overview of a handful of those programs both at the Carsey School and at UNH Manchester would be really helpful for everyone. So I will first present and give you some information about the Carsey School programs, and then Melinda's going to join in and discuss global conflict and human security. We really do think about these programs together and how we could best offer them to all of our students. And you'll see that there are some courses where both the students in the public policy or community development program take in the global conflict program and vice versa. So we really hope that this is helpful for everyone, and I will go ahead and get started. So first, just thinking about the Carsey School and our academic programs. We offer 4 different academic programs at the Carsey School. Today, I'm going to highlight 2 of those, the Master in Community Development and our Master in Public Policy. So the Master in Community Development is truly what we consider a degree with impact. It is a degree that is centered around a capstone project, an applied project that makes up what we call the project series courses. It is a fully online program. And the idea is from day one, you are thinking about, how do I implement projects at the community level? How do I build engagement at the community level? And really, this is a public-facing program with people doing community-level work. The project series starts with what you'll see at the bottom, your introduction to project management. It goes through design and implementation and evaluation. And what I wanted to do for you today was play a short clip from Nisha Grimes, who was a returning Peace Corps member and also engaged in the project series.
My name is Nisha Grimes. I'm a first-year student here at the Carsey School of Public Policy, and I served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Costa Rica. I was a rural community development worker, so it's a pretty broad title. So luckily, I was able to kind of work in a number of different sectors. Currently living abroad, and so I was really drawn to the Peace Corps Coverdale program because I was looking for the hybrid program. I was really attracted to the program that it only has 1 month of very intensive on-campus study, and then the rest is all done online. And I needed that for my work and just personal life, so it was a perfect fit.
So for those of you just thinking about that 1 month intensive study, that was obviously taking place pre-pandemic. So at this point, we have shifted fully online. We do think a residential summer component is something that's important, and that we're trying to think about how we could integrate that, in future cohorts. But right now, the program is completely online. Just to give you a sense of what this layout looks like, we run these courses primarily in 8-week e-term format, which means that you could run through them. You could tackle basically 2 semesters within the length of a traditional 1 semester, and you could finish the program in about 14 months. It's a 36-credit program. It is an interdisciplinary program. There are 3 electives, 9 core classes, and really this is a career-focused program. Let me flip quickly to the Masters of Public Policy, and then I will turn it over to Melinda to speak about her program. We really think about the Masters of Public Policy as the flip side of that community development and or management of implementation of policy, whereas public policy program is really the development, advocacy, and analysis of public policy, right? So really happening in the beginning of the policy phase. And ultimately, when we graduate students from the MPP program, we want them to be what we would call policy ready. That when you develop a piece of writing, that when you engage in a speech or any form of communication, you could be doing this, both within the halls of government, but also within the political sphere or within the policy sphere. There are 2 tracks in the policy program. There's a strategy and communications track, and there's a policy analysis track. Both of them help prepare students. We believe that the strategy and communication track is one of those things that is necessary in MPP programs that you frequently don't see. There are also a handful of experiential learning opportunities. We do a week-long trip to Washington, D.C., where we meet with policymakers and we meet with government affairs professionals. We meet with, party officials from the Democratic and Republican Party. And really, these are long days, 8 in the morning till 6 at night, meetings, from Capitol Hill to the Pentagon. Really, really informative and a great week for our students. We also have an internship experience and we have a capstone project, and I'd be happy to take questions about any of those. This is a 40-credit program, and primarily it is a cohort-based program, meaning our students are together and they're learning together, going through our required core courses, going on that DC colloquium trip, and then working through their capstone projects. There is an accelerated option for those of you that are already at UNH, but typically, this takes 12 to 24 months. And I would say, the sweet spot is somewhere around 3 full traditional semesters, is when students can typically finish. So there are other options that you can expand this with, right? So there are graduate certificates throughout the University of New Hampshire. What we've done is we've tracked 6 of those certificates to match perfectly with the MPP. So basically, without spending any more money and without spending any more time, you could get your Master's of Public Policy, tag on one of these graduate certificates, graduate with 2 credentials within the same period of time, and spend the same amount of money. And what are the career outcomes? Our students, frankly, are all over the world. There are a number that are based out of New England doing policy work and other advocacy work in New England, but we have students that are all over the world, all over the country, working from areas of fiscal policy to housing, to working in local and city government. So really the career outcomes have been very strong for these programs. In total, Carsey has, going on 800 alumni at this point between our 3 programs. So really a great opportunity for our current students to network with those alumni and really try to get out there and get the jobs that they're looking for. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Melinda. I'm going to stop talking and I'll let Melinda take over.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Hi, everyone. So we are launching a brand new master's degree this August called Global Conflict and Human Security. It's an MS degree. It's a professional master's. Next slide, please. And so what you're looking at here is the template for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which many of you are probably familiar with. And so the Sustainable Development Goals are basically a global blueprint for a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world. And our Global Conflict and Human Security curriculum is based on the Sustainable Development Goals framework. We also talk about these issues as human security, hence the title of our degree, Global Conflict and Human Security. And so if you look at number 16 there on the template, you'll see it talks about peace and justice. Basically, all of these goals are interrelated and include everything, right, from ending poverty and hunger to achieving gender equality and so on. But the world's most vulnerable communities are in fragile and conflict-affected states. And so none of these other sustainable development goals can be accomplished without also working toward conflict resolution and peace building. And so this is really a good time to launch a degree like this because this is a focal point of international development work today, helping folks in conflict-affected societies. And so the international development industry is growing, and a majority of foreign aid dollars actually go to conflict-affected and fragile states. So next slide, please. Our master's degree emphasizes skills building like the other Carsey masters that Dan talked about earlier. You know, we value experiential learning at UNH, and you'll learn how to design, implement, and evaluate international development projects by doing these types of things, working with a local organization as part of your capstone. And our capstone in global conflict and human security looks a lot like the capstone experience in the Masters of Community Development, where that capstone experience really traverses multiple courses. So you have the opportunity to design your project in the project design course, and then you take a course on implementation, and then you work with a local organization wherever you may be, whether it's Lebanon or Laos or Durham, New Hampshire. And so by the time you actually reach the end of the 5 terms for your capstone course, you are evaluating your project, and you will have built up a portfolio that you can use in your career. And so basically what this visual is showing is what's called the triple nexus. And we emphasize a triple nexus approach in this degree program, which means that we teach students how to promote social, economic, and political development in a conflict-sensitive way that contributes directly or indirectly to peace building. And we encourage students to tailor their capstone and their coursework to suit their interest, because as you know, the Sustainable Development Goals are very broad. And so some students are interested in gender-based violence, others are interested in food security, some people are interested in working in Latin America, others in Africa, and so on. So we really do give students the opportunity to tailor their coursework and, of course, their capstone experience to their interest. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a sample schedule of some of the courses that you would take. We also follow the cohort model, like some of these other Carsey programs. And you'll see that some of our curriculum focuses on conflict studies. We basically blend conflict studies and international development studies in our curriculum. So you'll take about five courses in conflict studies and human security, and then you'll take 5 skills building courses. Next slide, please. So this program is designed for working professionals, and that's why we made it a fully online program. Our courses are all asynchronous, though we do have optional Zoom opportunities for interaction. I really like interacting face-to-face through Zoom. So even though all of the coursework is asynchronous, we will have opportunities for Zoom interaction. And it's 12 months if you take 2 courses per e-term. And we are a 30 credit program. You'll take 10 courses and graduate in 12 months with a master's degree. I'd also like to mention the other benefit of the asynchronous format, because it really enables us to recruit students and faculty beyond New Hampshire and beyond the US. So one of our adjunct faculty, for example, teaching our research methods course, is going to be teaching it from Mozambique, where she's an international development specialist doing work on the field in the field. And so some potential careers are listed here. You can be a foreign aid specialist, foreign service officer, and of course, we offer those skills building courses on monitoring and evaluation, which are very important skills to have in the international development industry. Next slide. Okay, so I will turn it back to Dan to talk about some of the admissions requirements. Thank you.
Muted, there we go. So typical admissions requirements, you're going to need a transcript. You're going to need, a personal statement and letters of recommendation. For the Carsey School, you'll need 3 recommendations. For GCHS, you'll only need 2. You will need a resume and then your test scores, your GRE. The GRE is only required for the Masters of Public Policy at this point. And at this point, actually, during the pandemic, we've suspended that requirement because it's been so challenging for folks to get it. There is a $65 application fee at various points throughout the year. Those application fees are waived by either the graduate school or the program itself. So I would keep an eye out for that, and we'll certainly communicate that. It doesn't hurt to say, when you're applying, can I waive that fee? And same with those GREs, you could always ask, can I waive the GREs or not, right? These are all different processes and procedures that you never know once you ask. I would say from the Carsey side, and I'll let Melinda jump in from the GCHS side, Your personal statement is really important for us, especially if we don't have GREs. It gives a writing sample, and frequently, one's ability to write and communicate really does determine a lot of outcomes, we think, related to our programmatic goals. So we do look, pretty hard at that personal statement. So I would say take some time on that. And Melinda, I see you shaking. Is that you would agree with that? It sounds like.
Absolutely. And also in terms of, me being the advisor and thinking about what kind of capstone students can design, when I read those personal statements and really learn about a student's background and their interest, it helps me to think well ahead of time before they've even started the program, potential organizations that work on and things like that. So I really do take the personal statements very seriously.
Cool. And then just last but not least, here's some contact information. Here are our websites. Please go on to our websites. Please take a note of the contact information. Both Melinda and myself are available for, any questions. And obviously, the admissions and more general questions, both Sanjeev and my colleague Robin's actually joining us today, are more than happy to help with that. So please feel free to reach out. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Melinda and I can stick around for a little bit and happy to answer any questions. And it looks like Robin is now visible. So Robin, welcome. If you want to introduce yourself quickly, and then we could get to some questions.
Thank you, Dan and Melinda. I'm Robin Hesledge, and I am really your first stop with any questions about the programs. And if I don't know the answer, I can either find out the answer or point you in the right direction of who you can speak with. And I help you through the whole process to the admissions point, and then supporting you as a student in our programs. So I do see a few questions here, Dan and Melinda. So if you are willing to answer them, the first question is, when I complete the Global Conflict and Human Security program, will the diploma and transcripts be from UNH or UNH online? And will there be any live? Oh, that's the next question. So that's the first question is for you, Melinda.
Thanks. That's easy to answer. Yeah. The degree and the transcript will just say UNH. There will be nothing that says UNH online.
Great. The next question is, with the Global Conflict and Human Security program, will there be any live synchronous interaction within the course?
Yes, but all of those synchronous meetings will be optional because it is an asynchronous format for working professionals, and we know people have busy schedules, and we also know that we have students joining us from around the country and around the world. So it's really tough with the time difference to have required synchronous course meetings, but we will definitely have opportunities for Zoom face-to-face synchronous interaction that is optional, like, program happy hours and such.
Great. Thank you, Melinda. Another question is, how recent do the GREs need to be and when they're required? So for the MPP program, Dan?
Yeah, so typically, I guess I don't have the canned answer as far as, it has to be within the last 7 years or so. Typically, I think for transcripts, that tends to be the deadline. If you were looking to transfer in credits. Honestly, what I would say is just send an email to us, say, I have my GREs, I took them, in the last few years, and more than likely we would say that's fine. Like I had said earlier, we frequently waive the GREs. They're becoming less important to us as an indicator of student potential. And honestly, within the next year, I would be surprised if we still have them. So yeah, please just let us know your situation, and more than likely it would be perfectly fine.
Thanks, Dan. This next question is for both of you. What is the career outlook for these master's degree programs?
I guess I'll hit first as far as MCD and MPP. I'll speak about them separately because they are different. MCD, most of our students are working professionals. So most of them are doing this as part of their ongoing career development. And it's less of a starter program. I'm just out of undergrad, I'm going to jump into community development work. It's obviously not prohibited for folks like that, but that's not really who most of that program is geared towards. So those folks have careers, they're in jobs, some of them are transferring into development, but I would say, all of them are kind of engaged in that work. As far as the MPP goes, it is actually just the opposite, right? Most of our students are, they're younger, they're coming out of college. Typically traditional students that have gone to undergrad and then join a cohort model, in the MPP program. And, the program is still young in that it's probably, I think we're in our 5th year. So it's not as if, our number is enormous that I could say we have 100% success rate. That's wonderful. But what I could say is that, yes, all of our students have found jobs, and all of them have found jobs within, a policy relevant field that they're looking for. Some students have gone into fiscal policy work. Some students work for our congressional delegation. All of our students have found jobs. And I think the capstone to internship to job market kind of process really helps them get to where they're trying to go. And as support, staff for the academic program, we help them find those jobs as well. We do our best to place everyone.
Yeah, same with global conflict and human security. I think it's really important to note that, that capstone experience, the way that it's built into these programs really provides students with a nice way to transition to, this career and development work. And so for our program, because it's brand new, we also have no, success rate or career outcomes yet because we haven't actually launched the program. But I will say that, the development industry around the world globally is growing. And COVID perhaps has contributed to that growth because the need is profound around the world, and also domestically, with the new administration, we've seen an elevation of development work as part of Biden's foreign policy agenda, and really elevating USAID in particular, where now, the head of USAID is part of the national security team. And so the State Department has also been on a hiring spree, hiring people. And so, this program is, of course, oriented toward people who are interested specifically in development work. But I will say that because a lot of our curriculum is centered around international relations and conflict studies, it's also very good for someone who wants to be a foreign service officer or work at the State Department more generally, not necessarily doing development work per se. And so the career outlook is good. And actually on our GCHS main page, we have, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, career outlook information from Glassdoor. And you can look at, the number of jobs that are available on Glassdoor in program management related to international development, et cetera. And so the career outlook is good, actually.
Thank you both. Melinda, there's a question. Is the Global Conflict Program built more for working professionals or fresh graduates?
Both, I would say. We have an accelerated option. And so we have UNH undergrads who are interested in starting this first cohort as part of the accelerated program. And so, there's some 5 courses that really focus on international relations theory and comparative politics theory, and looks a lot like some of the undergrad courses that we have at UNH that are really focused on political science. But then the way that we designed the program as an asynchronous online program that you can complete over those 5 e-terms in 12 months, that's really oriented toward working professionals. So it's a little bit of both. You're getting the best of both worlds, I think. And so for people fresh out of undergrad, it's very appropriate. But for working professionals, we've designed it in a way that there's flexibility built into it so that people can complete the coursework around their 40-hour-a-week jobs.
Great. Thank you, Melinda. We have one more question. Can you explain the primary differences between the Community Development Masters and the Global Conflict and Human Security Masters?
Yeah, I mean, I could do my best and then let Melinda jump in. The community development program, I would say, is a layer removed from the specific field that you would be working in to some degree. And I think Melinda just said it well, right? So the Global Conflict Human Security program, it will cater well to other professions, right? To if you want to be in the Foreign Service, and if you want to work in other fields outside of human security. But its primary focus is human security that's kind of the core makeup of the classwork, where I would say the primary focus of the community development degree is community development in a broadly construed way. So, if you're working in an international context, yes, it applies in that international context, and you could tailor the program to do international work. But if you're working in community development finance in the US, it applies to that as well. So I would say it's just kind of a layer above that specificity that is in the human security program. And you'll get exposure to a bunch of different fields. So it might be public health, it might be sustainability, environmental sustainability. It might be economic development, right? So it allows for students to kind of pick and choose those electives. So that would be my best distinction. And then Melinda, please clarify anything I messed up there.
No, yeah, I agree. There's a good degree of overlap in terms of the skills building courses, because our GCHS students will sometimes be taking some of those skills building courses with Carsey students, in project design, et cetera. But a lot of our curriculum really is coming from political science, anthropology, sociology, and focusing a lot more on socio-political analysis. And so it's appropriate, of course, for people doing international development work. We really focus on the global South in our courses, but it's also appropriate, as I mentioned earlier, for people who are interested in foreign policy and perhaps a career doing stuff at a foreign policy think tank or at the State Department. And so we focus a lot more in our curriculum on the global South and on international relations. And so we've got a course on global governance and looking at, the UN system and the international development industry writ large across the world. We also have, opportunities like some of the Carsey programs for students to really focus on, public health or, gender-based violence or food security. And so in that regard, there's some overlap, but we really are focused on global South human security issues.
Great, thank you. That's all the questions I see from our attendees.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, Robin. We are hitting our 9 o'clock hour. So thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. These are things that we'd like to do in the future and share more information with all of you. Please share with your colleagues and friends and peers if you think they're interested in these types of programs. We'd love to speak with them. Thank you, Melinda, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing from everyone in the future. Take care.
Thanks for coming.